Hello everybody, my name is David and I'm a professional portrait and headshot photographer. In this video I will tell you how much headshot photographers charge in London. I will also explain the different pricing models and how to compare them. So without any further ado, let's get right into it. Well, first of all, in terms of prices, if you're looking for a good headshot photographer in London, you will be spending between £200 and £600. Now, why is that so expensive? Well, first of all, equipment. So think of a professional camera, for instance, only the body without the lens itself would be about £2,500 all the way up to £5,000 and more. Then a good, portrait lens is going to be starting about £1,000. And if you go a studio, you're going to have like studio strobes and a lot of other equipment. And that is without counting rent, for instance. If you think about the fact that in London rent tends to be higher, you will see that is reflected into the prices as well. And on top of that, there's only so many customers you can get in every month, which means that the only way you'd have to reduce your prices will be to get in more customers. But if you get in too many customers, you won't have enough time for each customer. It's not just in terms of the time you spend with them in the studio, but also the time you can actually spend to do a good work of editing their photos. So in order to reduce your prices, you will take in more customers, reduce your quality as a consequence of that. Which means that from having a look around, and from my own experience as a professional headshot photographer in the city, well, if you go below £200, it will become increasingly more difficult to find good work for that reason, because it's just not physically, it's not possible to produce the good quality work below that price. Said that, and I will explain a little bit more about that later, depending on the pricing model the photographer is using, there might be photographers that look like they're actually below the £200 mark, but in reality that's not the case, because once you purchase the photos as well, etc., the price you'll see will be still within their range. Now, let's now talk about the different pricing models. After doing a little bit of research, I've come across three main pricing models. The first one, which is the same one I use, is a pricing model in which you have a set number of packages, and each package has got a different duration and different price, and it comes with a different number of photos. As an example, you might have three packages. One is a 2-hour package, one is a 3-hour package, one is a 4-hour package, and it might come with 3, 6 and 9 photos included respectively. Okay, and each price, it might be £200, £300 and £400 as an example. Okay, that's the most common one I've come across. The other model I've come across is a model in which the headshot photographer does not actually charge you for the session itself, but only charges you for the photos you buy. Now, do bear in mind that you will likely still have to pay a deposit in order to book the session, which will then come off the photos you purchase. However, do keep in mind that with this type of model, they normally can't offer you longer sessions. The reason for that is that unless they know how many photos you're purchasing, they can't afford to offer you, say, a 3-hour session and then you buy only one photo, because at the end of the day they still got to pay for their expenses, and they still need to make a profit out of it. So that's the main difference. With that type of model, you can't really offer longer sessions. The last pricing model I've come across is a pricing model in which the photographer charges you for the session, but the session does not include any photos. So if you want to get the photos as well, you're going to have to pay separately. With all of these models, you'll be able to purchase extra photos, and they normally cost between £20 and £50. Now, once again, if you're wondering why they're so expensive, it's because to properly edit a photo, it will take the photographer between, say, half an hour and an hour per photo. If you're wondering why editing is necessary, that's because, as an example, say you're shooting outdoors, so you've got a brick wall next to you. Well, the brick wall will be bouncing off sunlight, and the sunlight will pick up colour from the brick wall, which will then in turn affect your skin tone. So what you do after the shoot is get the photo in Photoshop or whichever software you're using, and you can then adjust the skin tones to make sure they're accurate. But it's just one thing, or the many little adjustments will be necessary in order to make the photo look nice and balanced. Now, when comparing pricing models, you need to know what to look for, and the three main things to look for are the price of the session itself, how many photos come with the session, and the duration of the session. In terms of duration, if you pick two photographers with equally good skills, normally the longer session will give you better results. The reason is because, first of all, if you've got a longer session, you can sit down with the photographer before you start, discuss why, explain why you need the photos for, the purpose for the photos, and in that way they can then help you to actually, figure out which outfits, which backgrounds will work better, and how to actually create photos that will fulfill the purpose that you've got in mind for them. Now, even just changing outfits and backgrounds and new different lighting setups, that does take a fair amount of time. So once again, longer sessions will give you more variety because you got more time to try different things. And on top of that, it's the main important thing with a photo will be your body language and your facial expression. Even with direction and help from the photographer, it can take a little bit of time to warm up to the session. It's like going to the gym. You don't go full steam immediately. You warm up first. So once again, with a longer session, you're gonna have more time to make yourself at ease, and you will likely get photos that have got more variety, photos that are more on point for what you need them for, with an facial expression, body language that looks nice and natural. When it comes to comparing pricing models, it always helps to have a rough idea of how many photos you will need. And that is because you might come across a package that comes with 3 photos included. One where you only pay for the photos, and one that does not come with any photos, but you do pay for the session. Now, if you need 5 photos, for instance, you're going to have to see how much each one of these packages will cost you in order to get the 5 photos you need. And also, you're going to ideally want to compare packages with a similar duration, and that's because packages with a longer duration will likely cost you more, but they will also likely give you more variety, and it's possibly even a better facial expression as you have more time to work on it. Even with shorter sessions, it's possible to deliver exceptionally great headshots in a very short time frame. However, do bear in mind that in order to be able to deliver those great headshots, the whole session will be to be pretty streamlined, and as a consequence, there will be less room for creativity. As an example, with a shorter 1 hour session, you will not get as much variety as you'd get with a 3 hour session, which means that even though technically speaking with the 1 hour session you can still buy extra photos, you might not have enough variety to make it worthwhile to actually purchase any extra photos on top already comes with the package. Okay, so now that you've learned about the different pricing models, how do you actually go about finding a photographer? Well, first of all, I would recommend doing a little bit of research and creating a list of photographers with a style that you like. Once you've done that, you can then start comparing the packages and keep on the list only the ones within your budget. Once you've done that, you can compare them 2 at a time until you've got say 5 to 10 left on the list, and you can then rank them, the ones that are left. The reason why you want to rank them is because, as an example, your very favorite one might be fully booked for months, and in that case, if you've got a list of your favorite ones, you've ranked them, you can really quickly then skip to the next one on the list and book the other one. As you might have noticed, my recommendation is to start by looking for photographers you like as opposed to looking for photographers within your budget. And that is because you might realize after doing a little bit of research, all the photographers you like tend to be above your budget. If that turns out to be the case, I would recommend to wait a little bit, put a little bit more money aside, and go for the ones you actually like. It's a bit like buying a used car. If the only one you can afford it's got loads of problems, you might decide to purchase it anyway, but it would not really take you anywhere because it's going to break down halfway through the journey, and you find yourself with less money and with no car. So that I do of course understand that in some situations you might need them for work, you might need them quickly, and you might just have no choice. Another important thing to keep in mind is that once you pass the £200 threshold, a photographer that charges £600 will not necessarily be better than one that charges £200. And that's because if you're always fully booked and you're really popular, it just makes sense for you to raise your prices at the point at which you maximize your profits. And being popular does not necessarily mean that you're good at that you're better. It just means that you've got really good marketing practices going on and you're really good at getting visibility for your business. For that reason, I would always recommend to make the final decisions based on the quality of the work. So literally just put the work side to side and decide based on that. Okay, so I really hope you guys have enjoyed the video, and if you've enjoyed it and you found it useful, please do consider subscribing to the channel, as that will allow me to keep on creating more content like this. Any questions, do give me a shout, and I will see you guys next time. See ya.